Our khutbah for today is titled The Danger of Fake News and Negative Information. Dear brothers and sisters in Him, in today's digital age, we are constantly bombarded with information from various sources. Unfortunately, much of these informations are usually false, misleading, or negative. As Muslims, it is our responsibility to be cautious and discerning when consuming and sharing information. We must be very careful. We must make sure that we verify any information that we are putting out. Whatever you want to say, if you heard something somewhere, before passing the information to other people, make sure that you verify the information. Fear Allah. Do not say things that are not true. Do not say things that will cause problems, that will lead to chaos. Informations that you have no proper knowledge of. Do not pass that kind of information because it will cause problems. It will lead to chaos. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us in the Quran that we should verify information so that you don't end up harming those you are not supposed to harm, so that you don't end up fighting those you are not supposed to fight, so that you don't end up regretting at the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in a verse of the Quran in Surah Al-Hujurat chapter 49 verse 6. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba' إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. In this noble verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling upon the believers. He said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Because Allah knows when He calls upon the believers, they will heed, they will listen, they will follow His instructions, they will follow, they will listen and follow His admonition. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who believe, in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in. If a rebellious, evil person comes to you with a piece of news, fatabayyanu, verify it. Make sure that you verify the information before you share it. Make sure that you confirm the source of that information. Make sure that the information that you are about to share, that got to you, that you are about to share, make sure that you confirm if that information is accurate, if that information is the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continued. He said, أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة, that so that you do not harm people due to ignorance or as a result of the false information you got, so that you do not end up harming people. And at the end, فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ, so that you do not end up regretting what you have done. My brothers and sisters in deen, today we pass informations. We share negative information. Go on social media. Everybody wants their posts, their information to gain traction. You want to direct traffic to your page. You want to have more followers. You want to gain more likes. And as a result of that, you're sharing negative information. You're sharing false information, information that you have not verified. Recently, in my uh, region here or country here, there is an information that I saw that somebody was sharing, what was it is sent to me on WhatsApp, and someone did a video that the government has allowed them to bring in a deadly corn, maize, for us to eat, that the government wants to kill us all, and so on. What kind of thing is that? If you ask that person, most likely the person has not got hold of that product. And the person cannot confirm that I have seen one person dead as a result of consuming that product. But they are quick to share information because you want to gain followers. You want to become popular. On the day of resurrection, none of your followers will stay with you. You should think about that. Fear the day that you will go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A day that you cannot hide anywhere. No one can help you except what you've done. And if part of what you have been doing or what you did while you were in the world is to share negative information, is to share false information, then you will see the result, the consequences of your actions. My brothers and sisters in deen, we must also avoid mixing the truth with falsehood. We are fond of that. Yes, you have the right information, but because you want it to gain traction, because you want it to get people's attention, then you add false information to it. Because people are inclined towards negativity. Many people are inclined towards negativity. So as a result of that, you decide to add false information to it. You do not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters in deen, I want you to know that it is very wrong for you to do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 42, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ, that do not mix the truth with falsehood. وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, while you know. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ, do not mix truth with falsehood. وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ, and conceal the truth. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, while you know. You mix the truth and falsehood. Or maybe because you want your information to gain, you remove some part of the facts, some part of the truth. You remove some information that are true, then you add falsehood to it. You have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you on the day of resurrection. Everything that you have done, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask. You will give account for every of your actions, for every of your deeds. And if you stay in this world sharing negative information and falsehood, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you. And for those who are fond of making mischief, who are fond of causing mischief in the society, in our environment, you must fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us. He warned us in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 283. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ وَمَنْ يَكْتُمْهَا فَإِنَّهُ آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ عَلِيمٌ. You conceal the truth because you want to cause mischief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ, and do not conceal testimony. If you have evidence with you, do not conceal the evidence in your possession. وَمَنْ يَكْتُمْهَا فَإِنَّهُ آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ. For whoever conceals it, whoever conceals the truth or testimony that you have, the evidence you have, فَإِنَّهُ آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ, then indeed his heart is sinful. He has a sinful heart, he is a criminal-minded person. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Your heart is sinful, meaning you have the tendency to promote and carry out crime and so on, because you intend something, you want to cause problems by concealing the information you have, the testimony you have, the evidence you have. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Wallahu bima ta'maluna alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowing of what you do, is aware of whatever you do. So fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have a piece of information with you that will shed light on a particular issue or matter, then you should try as much as possible to provide such information. Do not hide information, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you on the day of resurrection. Let us fear Allah, my brothers and sisters, indeed, so that when the time comes, if we meet Allah, we meet Allah in peace. We meet Allah with our what? With our mind at peace. We should be careful with our utterances, with our actions. The Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said he dreamt that two men came to him. And in that dream, he said one person's mouth was torn from, one person, his mouth was torn from his cheeks, was taken from him up to his ears. And it was said, and why was his mouth torn up to the ears? It was said that he used to give false information. He used to give false information, and people will report it on his authority. You post negative, false information on social media, and people are reposting it, and you do not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't know the consequences. And in that hadith, it is said that so he will be punished like that on the day of resurrection, or till the day of resurrection. So if you are sharing information, make sure that what you are sharing is the truth. Make sure that the information you are putting out is nothing but the truth. Do not mix falsehood with it because you want it to gain traction. Do not mix falsehood with it because you want to get more followers. Do not mix falsehood with it because you want to get more likes and shares and so on. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear Allah. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith that لَا يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةِ قَتَّاتٌ. That what? He said, a mischief maker will not enter the paradise. Today, many of us share negative information and falsehood because we want to cause mischief. It is very common. Recently in my country here, there is a lot of things we heard on social media about the Samoa agreement and so on. That the government has signed something that you know that our laws in the country is against it. And you think the government can just sign an agreement and the agreement will legalize it? No. It cannot just happen like that. Many of you are educated, but you are not following the education. You're not using the education. You are only literate, but not educated. I'm sorry to say. And as a result, you must be very careful. Information that comes to you must be very careful. Confirm the information before you share. Most especially if you call yourself a believer. As a Muslim, you should be very careful with the information you share. If you do not verify information before sharing it, and you find out that the information is falsehood, then what happens? You regret at the end. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, that what? If information comes to you, most especially from mischief makers, from rebellious people, you should do what? Fatabayyanu, verify it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and protect us. Guide us from sharing negative information. Protect us from loving negative information and falsehood and false news. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleanse our heart and make us to be people who would be more interested in good, positive, and truthful information. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease the affairs of our people in Palestine, in Gaza, and every other part of Palestine. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease their affairs. We know it is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease their affairs for them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept the souls of all those that have gone. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring peace to Palestine and every other part of the world where there is no peace, and most especially where we have our Muslim Ummah. May Allah continue to protect the entire Muslim Ummah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to elevate us and increase us in Iman. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروا على آلائه ونعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون قوموا إلى الصلاة يرحمكم الله.